hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some freaking money. It's time for Pocket with Joe. Hey, what's up, guys? Jo Madden here, and it's time for Pocket with Joe over here on YouTube. I hope everyone's having a fantastic start to their Friday. Happy Friday, by the way. Hard to believe it's already October 17th. Now we've got 4 games out there on the ice. Seeing you guys jumping in already. We're going to get to your questions, your comments. Please drop anything that you do have in the live chat here on YouTube. But 4 games on deck, with the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Detroit Red Wings, with a Lightning team that's really struggling to keep the puck out of the back of the net. Gotta love a home dog in Detroit today. The puck will drop on that one at 7 p.m. Eastern. We then have the Minnesota Wild coming off a nice game in their last one out versus the Washington Capitals. The Vancouver Canucks on the second night of a back-to-back taking on the Chicago Blackhawks, who pulled off that great win that we were on Chicago, even though the trend said take the St. Louis Blues. They were able to get a win. Now they're a home dog in that one, with the Canucks coming off an offensive production last night. And then the San Jose Sharks taking on the Utah Mammoth. They have been struggling to say the least. They've lost their last 14 games, searching for their first win of the season. Now they have been able to pick up some points as 2 of their games so far this season have gone to OT. So we're going to be looking at that, looking at everything we have got here. Again, 4 games on deck. They're kicking off 7 p.m. Eastern. That last game is a 9 p.m. Eastern slot. Okay, so let's get into breaking down these games, seeing you guys popping in. Appreciate each and every one of you. Let's make some freaking money is right, Matt. Good to see you here today. I'm so sorry to hear that one leg of that parlay that would have paid off so great for you. Sorry it didn't hit. Good morning to each and every single one of you. Now, I know some of you made some big money yesterday. I see those DMs coming in. If I haven't had time to respond to you, I answered in my head. So I will get back to those DMs. Would appreciate each and every one of you for being here. So let's get this freaking plus money is right. The first game, we're going to kick it off with the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Detroit Red Wings. And I said it right off the bat. You got to love what the Detroit Red Wings have been able to do. This is a hot team right now, and they're a plus 136 underdog. Really interesting, because I do think the bias coming in here on the Tampa Bay Lightning with a team that, is able to have that offensive production. They're known for their fast skaters, their ability to move in transition and find the back of the net. Their defense has been struggling thus far. They're allowing those goals to come in, and they're minus 164 against a hot Detroit team. I think Detroit is going to give them a run in this game. Now, that total sitting at 5.5, which is interesting to see, right? The over 5.5 is minus 140. The under 5.5 coming in at plus 114. Looking at where I'm going to go in this one, this is going to be an interesting one. If you like Star Wars and you go into the game tonight, don't forget it is Star Wars night at Little Caesar Arena. So some weird knowledge that I did find today. I'm not a Star Wars fan, just to put it out there, but this is an Atlantic Division clash between these two. Now, Andrei Vasilevskiy is expected in between the pipes for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and on the other side, we have seen Cam Talbot. Now, Cam Talbot has been hot, but it's John Gibson confirmed. When we look at Cam Talbot, he's 3-0 with a 1.78 goals against average and a 932 save percentage this season. He is the main reason, in my opinion. I know he's been getting that support. Detroit's been getting those goals, but his ability to stand on his freaking head between the pipes has been one of the main reasons Detroit is sitting 3-1 on the season. They're 2-1 at home, you guys. But John Gibson, remember, he played for the Anaheim Ducks last year. Now, don't let that concern you. John Gibson with the Anaheim Ducks, when he faced Tampa last season, was on fire. He faced 37 shots on his goal, only allowing that one. if Detroit gives him some support on the defensive side of things, doesn't allow a ton of high danger shots here from the Tampa Bay Lightning, Detroit has every ability to steal this game at home. And I say steal it because they are at home, but this team already has 6 points, 3-1 on the season. The Tampa Bay Lightning are slipping here in the Atlantic. They have gone 1-2-1 with only 3 points being able to be picked up. They need to get this win. They're going to be hungry to get this win. I just don't think they'll be able to do so if John Gibson can stand between the pipes and do what he did the last time he faced his team. Now, no goalie props are up. We are seeing goalie props. This is a good thing. So John Gibson over 23.5 save shots on goal. Sign me up all day. 23.5 is a low number here. We know the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be absolutely firing in this one. Yes, Detroit can lock down. Detroit has been strong on the defensive side, but it has been Cam Talbot who has been that weapon. When we look at Detroit, they're averaging 3.5 goals per game, only allowing that 2.8. Their kill has been very strong to start the season at 88.9%. I do think John Gibson can nicely go over the 23.5 save shots on his net. I expect Tampa to put up close to 30, you guys. I don't see this being a game where John Gibson gives up a million. Now, one thing I'm going to do is look at a team total here for the Red Wings. I love them straight up on the money line. Now, I got them earlier at plus 132. Let me just make sure we're still seeing those numbers out there. We are seeing plus 136. So you're actually going to get some more value than I am. At plus 136, sign me up all day for Detroit as money is coming in on Tampa. But you look at Tampa and their inability to keep the puck out of the net. They did a better job in the game versus Washington, in which that game went to overtime the other night. It was a 3-2 loss in OT. So defensively, goaltending wise, they did better. But I'm telling you, I do think Detroit has every ability to go over 2.5 goals. Now, the problem with the over 2.5 goals for the Detroit Red Wings is it's juicy. Guys, it's minus 146. The over 3.5 is coming in at plus 176. So I think if you don't want to take Detroit straight up for the win and you kind of fear this is a 4-3 style game for one of these teams, I would look at playing around with the over 2.5 and then a sprinkle on the over 3.5. We're just splitting it a half a unit on each for the Red Wings because I do think they're going to get those goals. They covered their puck line as in the last 6 games as an underdog. So nice solid trend there. And then you guys, they have won their last 4 games as a home underdog, which is exactly the position they are sitting in today. So you got to love that home underdog situation for sure. It is a Friday. It's always Freaky Friday. The dogs are barking on a Friday out there on the ice. The big games are on a Saturday. You have teams and look ahead situations to their opponents, even if maybe it's a weaker opponent. But you do have those look ahead situations as the season goes on. Always remember that. The craziness, you guys know it happens on a Friday out here or a Wednesday. Wednesday's a weird night as well. You've always got limited slates on Wednesdays and Fridays with those big games on Thursdays, the big games on Saturdays, especially when you're looking at a Canadian team. Hockey night in Canada is crazy. So always look for those kind of things. And when we're looking at players who you want to look at for those points in this game. Now, Nikita Kucherov for the Tampa Bay Lightning, we know he is, what's that saying? The straw that stirs the drink. That's Nikita Kucherov. He has 3 points thus far this season, 2 goals and an assist. Now, in his career versus the Red Wings, this is where you really see some big numbers. 40 games in his career versus the Red Wings, he has been able to record 52 points in 40 games. 21 goals, 31 assists. In 4 meetings last season, Nikita Kucherov had 6 points on 1 goal and 5 assists. Nikita Kucherov tonight, if the Lightning are scoring, is going to be part of it. Nikita Kucherov he needs to make your betting slip tonight in some capacity. We can work with the long shot parlay at the end of the show. Nikita Kucherov, is going to make it. Now, Braden Point, you also look at him. He's been strong this season. He leads the Tampa Bay Lightning with 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists, and he does drive this offense as well. Now, Jake Gunsel has been a big playmaker this season. 2, he leads with 4 assists. So that's where you're going to go for the Tampa Bay Lightning. When you're looking over here at the Red Wings, there's a couple of playmakers that you want to circle as well. So you're going to see Marco Kasper. He has only scored 1 goal this season, but I do think he's someone to watch. His career numbers versus the Tampa Bay Lightning is really what got my attention this morning when I was going over this game. In 4 games in his career versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, one of those was last season. In 4 games, he's been able to score 3 goals. So Marco Casper really steps up when he faces Tampa. He finds a way to get things done. Now, Appleton has had success so far this season. He scored at least 1 goal in the last 2 games here for Detroit. We know Alex DeBrincat, how strong he is with Detroit. He has 6 assists already on the season. He hasn't scored a goal yet, though, and I do think Alex DeBrincat is due. I hate the word due, but Alex DeBrincat needs to come out firing. And then you've got Patrick Kane and Dylan Larkin. They're both off to a great start here with 5 points, and they're players that you can really rely on in those key clutch moments to come through and get things done. So many playmakers to look at in this one. I'm going to stay off the total because I do worry a little that John Gibson is going to be straight fire out here for the Red Wings. If he's straight fire, then, we're not going to see Tampa with very many goals on the board. So that is where I'm going. Bo Horvat, we talked about Bo Horvat's ability against the Isles yesterday. I left him off. I love those trends and how they played against certain teams. We've got 2 solid trends here today in this game. We left off Bo Horvat. Bo Horvat has proven he can score on Edmonton. He got that freaking Hattie last night, you guys. It was good. Yeah, Nikita Kucherov. 2+ points. I would go there with Nikita Kucherov. Like I said, in 40 games versus the Red Wings, Nikita Kucherov has been able to accumulate 52 points. You guys, it just seems like a given. 21 goals and 31 assists for Nikita Kucherov. So the dogs are absolutely calling. This Freaky Friday is here. Let's get this freaking money. It's great to see all of you guys here today. You're going to take all 4 of the dogs tonight with the plus money. And I don't blame you. I think 3 of the 4 have every opportunity of cashing for us tonight. So let's keep moving. Maybe we'll see the Sharks with their first win. Let's keep moving down the slate today. The next game we're going to see is the Minnesota Wild taking on the Washington Capitals. Now, Washington at this price at home, this is what gets me about this game. So I do think it should be a shorter price for the Washington Capitals. They are minus 128 here at home. Total 5.5. The 5.5 juice to the over at minus 120. I don't want to lay minus 128 on the Washington Capitals. I think there's a better way to attack them in this game to get us some money and get in and out. You guys know I love getting in and out of these games. First, let's break down the game and where we're going to go, and then I'll let you know which side I'm on and why. So Logan Thompson is confirmed here for the Washington Capitals, and he was freaking stellar in that game versus the Rangers. He faced 35 shots on his goal in that shutout win for them. And then when we look at the Minnesota I almost said Vikings. When we look at the Minnesota Wild here, Gustafsson is confirmed. Gustafsson isn't playing at the level that we would have expected out of him. He needs to really make a huge step up if we want to see the Minnesota Wild get into playoff contention. So he's 1-2 to start the season. It's an .888 save percentage. I do have faith in Gustafsson to be able to turn things back around. Now, the Minnesota Wild are on their first night of back-to-back. They do have the Philadelphia Flyers on deck tomorrow. I'm going to see them stand up in this game as well. But I think the balanced attack here for the Washington Capitals and their ability to really, with their depth, get defenses just kind of off guard and have these breakout moments is what's going to give the Washington Capitals their advantage in this one. We've also seen thus far this season, the Minnesota Wild have those defensive issues. So with the defensive issues and the issues Gustafsson's had, it's really hard for me not to look at anything but the Washington Capitals in this one. They've allowed the Minnesota Wild 15 goals in 4 games, and that's just not like Minnesota, right? We know Minnesota has an ability to have that strong defensive presence, but we're not seeing it out there. I do think the Washington Capitals can bring it. Now, Ovi. Back in 2017, this is a little bit of trivia for you. Ovechkin in 2017 was able to get 3 points in that game and the most ever by an opponent against the Wild. So the Wild normally don't allow one player to absolutely go off, but Ovi was able to do that in 2017. And I do think he brings a great attack here today on Gustafson. Now, a couple of things here. The Minnesota Wild have played really strong versus the Washington Capitals. They have covered the puck line in their last 10 versus the Capitals. They have lost their last 5 versus the Metro. That's a ding on them. But Minnesota has gone 7-0-1 in their last 8 meetings versus the Washington Capitals. So they've had that advantage. They swept last season over the Washington Capitals, and 9 of Minnesota's last 16 games played at Washington have been decided by 1 goal. These are teams that play very, very tight battles. What I'm going to look at here is I do think straight out of the gate, you've got the Washington Capitals with the ability to steal the first period, with Logan Thompson, with the momentum coming in off that last game. I do think they will hit the Wild's defense. The Wild will make adjustments in the second period, and then we'll see them play a competitive one. I will take the Capitals first period money line at -128 for a half a unit. The other half a unit on the first period puck line, laying a half a goal at +172. You guys know, if you joined me last season, we made money on the Washington Capitals coming out hot straight out of the gate last season in a lot of these games. Give me them in the first period. And then when we're getting the Minnesota Wild at a nice price, I'm not even I won't be surprised if we can sprinkle on the money line at that point. Like, if I'm getting a $2 money line for the Minnesota Wild, it's worth a sprinkle. I'll take them on the puck line +1.5 though, at like the -120 mark that it will probably be if the Capitals go up 1-0. And if it happens in the first period, you see the Washington Capitals score right away, I would look at the Minnesota Wild quick. I wouldn't wait to make sure that they don't tie it up here, right? I would grab Minnesota at that point plus the 1.5, because I do think this is going to be a 1-goal game. And if you have the Minnesota Wild plus the 1.5 at a good price, it's going to pay off. Now, going into this game, it's not going to pay you anything. Plus 1.5 is -250. Nobody wants that. If you can bring it down to a -120 mark plus the 1.5 for the Minnesota Wild, exactly where I would go. So it's going to be a fun one. Just seeing all of your comments here. You got the Minnesota Wild on the money line, the Blackhawks on the money line. I like it. I do think they have every ability to get it done. Former Wild, we will be in the Capitals lineup. Chisholm. That's something we love to hear, Matt. So thank you for throwing that out. You guys, if you want to take him for the anytime goal at plus 1,200 versus his former team, always a fantastic way to go. Some great plus money to be made here on a Friday. He scored a goal in 3 of his previous 4 appearances against the Capitals. Another strong trend, you guys. I love that you guys are throwing those trends out there. Let us know what he is for that anytime goal. And yeah, best of luck to you guys following these trend bets today. Gotta love it. And we saw it yesterday, right? Bo Horvat. He scores versus the Oilers. He got the Hattie. So you got to roll with these trends. You got to save a little bit of your bankroll for these longer shots, especially, teams versus players versus their former teams at great plus 1,200. I love it. Okay, thank you for letting me have a sip of coffee, you guys. It is needed this morning. It's only my second cup of coffee. I made it right before we kicked off the show. Now, when we're looking at the playmakers out here for the Minnesota Wild, Kaprizov has been great. Kaprizov and Matt Boldy have been, again, they've been driving this offense and they've been able to get things done. You've already seen Kaprizov with 4 goals so far through the 4 games and 5 assists. So he is dominating. If you're looking for player props, it is Kaprizov. Let's move on to the Vancouver Canucks versus the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, Chicago's only plus 112 here at home. I wanted some more money on the Chicago Blackhawks, but the books are not going to give it to us. They want you to lay -134 on the Vancouver Canucks on their second night of a back-to-back. And while they might be able to bring that momentum of a big win versus the Dallas Stars, I'm still so shocked. I thought that was going to be a lower scoring game. They won it, 5-3, 5-2, 5-3, I believe it was. They came out so strong offensively, and I did not see that coming. The Dallas Stars have a solid defense. Now Chicago and Vancouver, we've got a total of 5.5. This one smells fishy. Why is this not a higher total after Vancouver proved they could score last night? The Chicago Blackhawks are a team that don't provide that much defensive resistance. And it's 5.5 with plus 110 to the under. Something tells me we got a lower scoring game. Do I want to bet it to the under 5.5? Not really, because both of these teams have the ability to score until you start breaking down the goaltending matchup. Lankinen expected as Demko played last night out here for the Vancouver Canucks. He's got decent numbers, but it's Spencer Knight that really leans me towards this one coming to the under. Spencer Knight versus the Vancouver Canucks has been fantastic. 2 career games versus Vancouver, 2-0 record there. The save percentage is a 967, you guys. He has a 0.96 goals against average versus Vancouver. Spencer Knight can steal this win here for the Chicago Blackhawks. I am tempted to play Chicago alt puck line, laying 1.5 goals and get some great plus money. They're coming off the momentum win versus the St. Louis Blues. It was that 8-3 win out there in the second night of a back-to-back when Vancouver gave it. They left everything on the ice to get that big win last night. I think Chicago is barking. Now, Chicago has played in tight games. Their last 9 games, they have covered that puck line in their last 9. Of course, they were the dog going into St. Louis, so the plus 1.5 is where you'd be looking at. And they've been the dog in a lot of these situations, so keeping them tight. My biggest problem is here, Vancouver has won the last 10 versus Chicago, so they've been able to get up and play teams like this hard. But I really do think I didn't trust Vancouver rolling into Dallas last night. They left it all on the ice. Demko was between the pipes and they played a fantastic game. Can they get momentum going into this one and win the first period? Yeah, I would look at Vancouver if you want in the first. Let me have a sip of coffee. Just 1 second. Okay, apologies for that. My voice going this morning, not sure why. It's the amount of talking I've been doing as of late. But you look at a Vancouver team who really, they played their hearts out. They left everything on the ice last night to get that win over the Dallas Stars. And it was an impressive one at that, especially for a team that's been criticized to start the season about their inability to score on that power play, yet to be able to convert. This is a team that had been struggling with those goals. So I do think Chicago is live in this one, but Vancouver can bring it in the first. Now, if Vancouver comes out and scores first again, Chicago plus the 1.5 at that point is going to be great plus money, and you're going to get a better price on them here on that money line as well. Now, there is a player that I want to circle and then circle again here. We've talked a lot about, you've got Connor Bedard, right? But you have Frank Nazar and Teravainen, who are just playing outstanding. They have that second scoring ability out there on the ice. When we look at Teravainen versus the Vancouver Canucks, these numbers just stand out like a sore thumb. 11 points, 1 goal, and 10 assists over 13 games versus the Vancouver Canucks. And he leads all skaters for the Chicago Blackhawks with 4 goals against Vancouver. Teravainen is who you want to make your card tonight. I will be shocked if he does not get on the board via either a goal or an assist. So I do think the point is where you want to look. We're going to look and build those point props after we go through all of these games. But Teravainen, definitely circle Teravainen for the Chicago Blackhawks tonight before you circle Connor Bedard. Now, when you look at the other side for Vancouver, there's no denying what Quinn Hughes has been able to do out there on the ice. He has set another record. He's become the franchise leader in points by a defenseman with 410. 410 points for Quinn Hughes in his career with the Vancouver Canucks. It's so impressive what he is doing out there. And, he didn't cash for us when we did that Hughes brother parlay, but Quinn Hughes definitely is someone that you always want to put on your point sheets as well. Okay, let's get on. It's okay that you missed the start of the show. Yeah, his daughter is having some surgery for sure. So he will be back shortly, and prayers go out to the Phalangio family. Chicago and Blackhawks, interesting matchup. Yeah, Canucks and Blackhawks. It is a very interesting matchup to see what Vancouver is able to bring. I think we'll get tired legs, and I think that gives every opportunity. And we talk about in football for that backdoor cover. Basically the same thing for Chicago to be able to maybe even push it to overtime. So watch for a tight battle between the Vancouver Canucks and the Chicago Blackhawks. One I think is worth a sprinkle on Chicago. You made it here. Let's make some freaking money. I love seeing you guys every day here on the show. We're going to go over the next game. The San Jose Sharks always searching for a win. They've lost 14 games, you guys, in a row. They have, though, been able to push 2 of their games thus far to OT. And then they did lose that one big to Carolina, 5-1 in their last game out. Now, the problem with the San Jose Sharks is not their forward units. They do have some young forward presence, as well as a couple of veterans out there that are able to really get things going. The speed that they bring, and it's going to be a fun matchup here versus Utah, because we talk about Utah's talent all the time and their ability. The lines on this one are just too off for me to back Utah. They are a minus 255 favorite on the money line, laying 1.5 on that puck line at plus 100. The Sharks coming in at plus 205. If you think they break this losing streak, all streaks have to eventually come to an end. Which side of the streak do you want to be on? Do you want to continue to roll fading the San Jose Sharks, or do you want to start jumping on them now to grab that great plus 205 money? This is an opportunity for them to be able to get the win versus Utah. They're battling it out in the Pacific, and the Pacific is a hard division. And you look at Utah, and it's probably their best chance to get a win in the Pacific over their next couple of games. So I think it's probably worth a shot here on the San Jose Sharks. I think this game starts off hard and fast and scrappy between these two. I don't think we see a lot of defense in the neutral zone, and we see breakouts from these opponents in through the neutral zone coming out of their own end. So I do think the Sharks are worth a shot. Now, this total of 6.5 is minus 122 to the under, plus 100 to the over. I'm going to stay at the full game total. What I'm looking at here is this one just to see those goals and see those goals right away. I'm going to take the first period over 1.5 goals. Actually, I was going to take the first period over 1.5 goals, but the problem is I don't know who wanted to put it at minus 150, but the books did, and I hate that number. Minus 150 is out of my juice tolerance. You guys, it's just way too much. I'm not willing to get there. I would look at both teams to score in the first period, and I know that gives you angst, right? Because you think maybe Utah is just going to score. Then look at Utah on the puck line laying 0.5 goal in the first period, but I do think both teams score in the first period at plus 148. I do think it's worth a shot. I think it's one of the best bets if you don't want to look at the Sharks just to pull off the upset. Now, the problem with the San Jose Sharks is the freaking goaltending. The goaltending needs to step up. You look at Asarov, and he will be in net tonight. He has a 6.93 goals against average. Yeah, you heard that right. A 941 save percentage. Veramalka, the veteran goaltender, he's 2-1 with a 1.67 goals against average and a 929 save percentage. So he does give them the best ability to get the wins, but for Utah, Veramalka for Utah. But I just look at it here and I think something's got to give. The Sharks have to give the support on the defensive side. They don't provide a lot of defense, but you know the goals are coming out of Utah. This has to be a high-scoring game if the Sharks want to win it. They have to win this in like a 5-4 style one. So if you just want to roll with the over, I'm still shocked at what we're getting for the over 6.5. The thing with Utah is they can draw those penalties and get up on the power play. Versus the Calgary Flames on that power play, they weren't able to convert. But Calgary brings a stronger kill than the San Jose Sharks. So if Utah gets up on that power play, we could see them blow the Sharks right out of the water. Like this could be a 5-2 game for Utah. The Sharks have to play a clean game. They cannot get into the situations where they're giving Utah the opportunity because Utah is so good at that. And then we do see Utah coming up that win versus the Calgary Flames, who are in the Pacific as well. So it's going to be an interesting one. Utah has covered the puck line in their last 4 as a favorite versus the Pacific. I do think the playmakers you want to look at is Macklin Celebrini. Macklin Celebrini of the San Jose Sharks is yet to net goal. He hasn't lit the lamp so far, you guys. He does have 3 assists, and I would look at him to be strong. Now, he is on that top line with Jeff Skinner. Remember Jeff Skinner? He was with the Edmonton Oilers last year. So looking at Celebrini and Jeff Skinner for the point parlay, great way to go. I also like Tyler Toffoli. So we're going to play around with Tyler Toffoli. Look at those lines where we can bet Tyler Toffoli to come out nice and strong. But when we look at Jeff Skinner, nice strong stat for him. He scored a goal in each of his last 3 appearances against Western Conference opponents. Again, he was with Edmonton last year. So that's a nice strong trend. On the other side, we know it's so hard to stop Clayton Keller, Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther. So many playmakers out there. So we're going to get into all of those point parlays. We're going to do the recap. Braden Point, anytime goal, and Kucherov for the assist. It is the same game. Parlay. It's a nice one there, Irish King. Let us know what value you're getting. Yeah, I would do Macklin Celebrini for 2+ points. The Sharks, if they have an ability to win this, Macklin Celebrini has to get the goal, not just the assist tonight. So I'd take him for a goal and an assist. I think he's going to come out nice and strong. You're going to take Chicago money line and Connor Bedard for the anytime goal. I don't hate it. Teravainen I would put in there as well if you want to add someone else. And then Minnesota, Kaprizov and Matt Boldy for the assist. It's a nice way to go. Okay, you're running that straight. Running what straight? I don't know what you're running that straight, but let's make some freaking money. Putting a 50 on it with the boost. Let us know, Blake, exactly what you're doing. Oh, Macklin Celebrini. Macklin Celebrini. Let's freaking go. 2+ points for Macklin Celebrini. A goal and an assist. I do see a big night out of him. So let's go. Let's do the recap. What time are we at, you guys? We are at the 30-minute mark. You guys, we made it. We had a four game slate. We did it in 30 minutes. Let's get to the recap, and then we'll start building those player combos out there for you guys. And the player point combos is a great way to look at these games. And when you're building those, look at playmakers on either the same line or on that power play unit together. We're going to look at Utah to have those opportunities on the power play. We're going to look at those power play points tonight because we know they have the ability to draw on the power play. Now, if you're looking at a team that's not converting on the power play, like the Vancouver Canucks, don't look at the power play units. Look more so at those top lines and the top line, the second line, what you're expecting to see out of them. And I don't mind pairing forward with one of the defensive pairings that are going to be out there on that top lines for them, because you're looking at that defensive player being able to get an assist. You're also looking at a lot of these defensive players now are offensive defensemen who are getting those shots from the blue line. So we're going to play around with a lot of that, and I'll let you know where I'm going. But we talked about those players for the 2+ points. We will recap that again, Mo. Those players for the 2+ points that I'm liking: Macklin Celebrini, Nikita Kucherov off the top of my head. That's exactly where we'll go. And it is fine that you are late. I appreciate you showing up. So it's a good one. 3 players for points tonight we will look at. Okay, recap time, and then we'll build these player props. So recap time. 4 games on deck today, you guys. And let me just pull up. These are your 4 games. Okay, so let's kick this one off with those 4 games on deck. We're starting off with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Detroit Red Wings, Battle of the Atlantic. It is Star Wars night in Detroit. In this one, I think the Detroit Red Wings have every ability to get the win, and it comes down to John Gibson. Give me John Gibson here, confirmed in goal for the Detroit Red Wings, over 23.5 save shots on goal. I have no problem firing up to over 25.5 save shots on goal. I think Tampa is going to be firing, trying to get back on point with the Atlantic Division, but I think John Gibson's going to be too much for them in this matchup. He has such strength versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. So give me the Red Wings plus 132. Give me John Gibson over 23.5 save shots on goal, firing up to 25.5. And then I do think if you don't want to look there, you can look at the Red Wings team total, over 2.5 goals at minus 146, over 3.5 at plus 176. For a half a unit each. I do think they'll score on Andrei Vasilevskiy. The Tampa Bay Lightning are allowing those goals to come in. Looking at the players here, Nikita Kucherov for 2+ points. He's been electric versus the Detroit Red Wings in his career. 40 games, 52 points, 21 goals, 31 assists. Marco Kasper has been solid versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's been able to score 3 goals in the last 4 games. The Washington Capitals will be at home taking on the Minnesota Wild. Now, I like the Capitals to be able to get the win. I just don't like the price on the money line. I would look at the Capitals to get off to a hot start. Logan Thompson bringing that momentum from that last game versus the Rangers. I do think the Capitals can win the first period. First period puck line here for the Washington Capitals, minus a half a goal at plus 172. At that point, when the Capitals go up in the first period, if it plays out the way I'm liking, I will be coming back in on the Minnesota Wild, either plus 1.5 or a sprinkle on that money line if I'm getting them at plus 200-ish on that money line. I think the Wild have every ability to come back and get the win in this game. They have played so strong versus the Washington Capitals. These two teams in the last 8 meetings, Minnesota has won 7 of those. Ovi would be your playmaker I'd look at for the Washington Capitals. He has shown that strength versus them. And then it's Kaprizov and Matt Boldy here for the Minnesota Wild. When we look at the 2 later games on deck, the Vancouver Canucks versus the Chicago Blackhawks, give me the Blackhawks to get it done. I just wish we were getting more plus money on the Chicago Blackhawks. If the Vancouver Canucks go up first, I'll come back in on Chicago to get the job done tonight. Now, the playmakers here, it's Tara Vinen for the Chicago Blackhawks. He has had that ability versus the Vancouver Canucks, 11 points in 13 games versus the Canucks. I don't hate him for 2+ points in this matchup tonight. Quinn Hughes on the other side, an offensive defenseman. He fires from the blue line. He has 410 points out there for Vancouver, leading the Vancouver Canucks in all-time franchise history for defensemen. So Quinn Hughes is who you'd look at for Vancouver. The San Jose Sharks versus a Utah Mammoth. I'm looking for both of these teams to get off to hot starts. Give me the first period over 1.5 goals if the juice drops on any of your books. It's too juicy for me at minus 150. Both teams to score is a better way to go. Both teams to score in the first period coming in at plus 148. I will look at Macklin Celebrini for 2+ points. I do think Macklin Celebrini and Skinner are worth a look. And then we're going to build that parlay with Toffoli. On the other side for Utah, Clayton Keller, Logan Cooley, and Dylan Guenther are your playmakers. So let's get into building some of these parlays. Yeah, and I don't hate it. Connor Bedard for the goal and Tara Vinen for the assist. So Kaprizov has 0 points versus the Capitals with his entire career. That is interesting for sure. I didn't realize he had 0 points versus the Capitals for his entire career. That sounds pretty crazy to think he has not been able to score with them. So they always know how to keep certain players off. The Washington Capitals have a solid defense. So, yeah, I do like Washington money line and Ovi for the anytime goal. That is a great way to go in that one. So let's go. Let's make some freaking money. Okay, let's build these player point combos. What time are we sitting at? We're sitting at 37 minutes. See, we got this today, you guys. We're flying through the show. Do me a favor as we build these player point combos. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. It helps me over here. And after the show is done, if you could just drop even like a high five, like emoji or something in the chat or in the comments under this video, it does help the algorithms on YouTube. And you guys know we do this every single day. I'm giving you all of my picks in the full slate all season long. So let's build those player point parlays out there. We're going to start with the Red Wings versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. We're going to move on to the point section now. I told you Nikita Kucherov for the 2+ points. It's at plus 142. Nikita Kucherov has every ability to get 2+ points in this. I would be looking at him separately. So Nikita Kucherov separately for the 2+ points. As we look at the rest of the slate out there, between the Red Wings and the Tampa Bay Lightning, I have to look at Marco Jasper. We talked about Marco Jasper and his ability to get those goals on Tampa. Marco Jasper for the point is plus 146 for the Detroit Red Wings. You guys, that is something you definitely want to put into your point parlay. If you want to look at Marco Jasper for that goal, we're going to get great plus money if FanDuel will let me open that page here. So his anytime goal is coming in at, and I don't have my player props in yet. So I'm excited to see this, you guys. I'm not even getting him. Oh, there he is. He's plus 340. So Marco Casper, not Jasper. It's with a K. Casper for the anytime goal is plus 340. I think it's worth a shot. 3 of the last 4 games versus Tampa, he's been able to get that goal. Now, we have seen Mason Appleton continue to get those goals. He scored in 3 in the last 2 games. Alex DeBrincat has 6 assists. So Alex DeBrincat for the point tonight is a solid way to go. The problem is with Alex DeBrincat for the point, you're going to have to lay juice. DeBrincat is minus 160 for a point. So while I like it, Dylan Larkin as well. If you parlay the 2 of them together, that would be an interesting look. Larkin and DeBrincat. Let's just bring up the Red Wings lines here for you guys really quick. And I will let you know exactly where they're sitting if I can get this done. Just give me 1 second. Bear with me, guys. I should have had this open before. I just want to make sure they haven't had any movement. So we are seeing Dylan Larkin on that center line with Mason Appleton. Mason Appleton, like I said, has been great. Marco Casper and Alex DeBrincat are on that second line with Patrick Kane. That is where I would look to target these guys. Marco Casper, we already talked about his ability to score on Tampa. And then you got DeBrincat just firing with those assists. I would look at the player point combo between DeBrincat and Casper. So let me just clear off where I was going with all of those and we'll get them back. So let's just go Marco Casper for the point and Alex DeBrincat for the point. When you put Casper and DeBrincat, it's coming in at plus 203. Now, again, you could look at Casper for the goal and DeBrincat for the assist. It's going to probably double your money, but I wouldn't be greedy there. That is where I would look. I would look at Casper and DeBrincat for a point coming in at plus 203. Nikita Kucherov in this game for 2+ points would be who I'd look at for the Lightning. Let's move on to the Minnesota Wild and the Washington Capitals. And actually, let me just throw Nikita. We'll do the long shot parlay. Leave Nikita Kucherov off of it. It doesn't move the needle much. The Minnesota Wild and the Washington Capitals, you guys, I do think Ovi comes in nice and strong in this. Let's see if we're getting any value to throw Ovi in a long shot here. Again, he has been the player that has been able to score more on the Minnesota Wild than any other player out there in the league. He's minus 188. For the anytime point. I don't hate throwing him in there. If you're looking at the Minnesota Wild for their points, Kaprizov is too juicy. He's coming in at minus 330. But if you do take Kaprizov and Boldy and you parlay them together, still, you're not even getting that value. It's coming in at minus 152. I wouldn't do that. Instead of doing that, I would just look at Capitals players here. I think Ovi has every ability, and I like where is Wilson? Carlson, John Carlson there. So you look at Ovi and John Carlson, they're coming in at plus 141. I'd probably just leave Ovi in our long shot parlay. Again, he's juicy at minus 188. It's a tricky game to take a lot of player props, I think, in that one, as you have seen Logan Thompson really tall, and the Washington Capitals, they will be looking to lock down. Another game, though, that I think we can look more at the player props is looking at the Chicago Blackhawks. Tara Vinen, we talked about, he's minus 115 for the anytime point. Remember, he has had that success versus Vancouver. Tara Vinen for the 2+ points. You guys are going to love this. He's plus 440 for the 2+ points. I will take a shot on Tara Vinen for the 2+ points. So far, the 2+ points, we have Tara Vinen, Nikita Kucherov for the 2+ points. I think they're both looking like money tonight. So Tara Vinen at plus 440. But the anytime point at minus 115, still a great way. Now you look at Chicago's lineup and you have Nazar on that as well. Let me just pull up Chicago Blackhawks. I can't text and talk, you guys. I can't. I really can't. I can't read and talk either. So when we're looking at that second line, this is where I love it. So Tyler Bertuzzi, Frank Nazar on the center, and then you got Tara Vinen on that left wing. This is the line that I think is going to be so impactful for that scoring tonight. Yes, Connor Bedard with Colton Dach on that top line, and I do think that top line is going to come into play. But the second line is my favorite out there, and I do think they're going to make some waves. Now, Tyler Toffoli for the San Jose Sharks is someone we're going to look at as well tonight. But Tyler Bertuzzi here, I do think has an ability to make an impact. So it's going to be interesting. I'm just looking at their defensive pairings right now. That top power play for Chicago is Bertuzzi, Nazar, Teravainen, Bedard, and Renzo. It's going to be a solid unit in this game versus Vancouver. I really do think with backup goaltending in for Vancouver tonight, we're going to see those points coming in. So I would look at both Teravainen and Nazar to be able to put the points on the board when we build this long shot parlay. I think they have a solid ability to be able to do so. If you just want to take Teravainen and Nazar for a point tonight, it's coming in at plus 138. If you want to throw Connor Bedard in there, because I know some of you guys really want to do that, that's coming in at plus 216. So that's Teravainen, Nazar, and Bedard for a point at plus 216. I'm going to leave Connor Bedard off. Personally, I just don't want to touch him tonight. But if you're looking at the defenseman, Quinn Hughes, to be able to get a point on the board, he's minus 188. We're going to throw him in. I do think Quinn Hughes gets a point on the board for sure. So into the long shot parlay he goes. The San Jose Sharks versus the Utah Mammoth. I do think we've got goals and points coming in this one. Clayton Keller is so juicy at minus 330 that we can't just take him for the straight up point. I do think the power play conversions coming here for the Utah Mammoth. Now, when we look at Utah's lineups, I do have that open because I remember to open at least there is tonight. You look at Utah, Clayton Keller on that top line with Nick Schmaltz there, and Hayton is centering that top line. Logan Cooley centers the second line with Dylan Guenther and JJ Peterka. That is another solid lineup out there for the Utah Mammoth. Now, looking at the top power play unit, that is Dylan Guenther, Logan Cooley, Nick Schmaltz, Clayton Keller, and then a guy's name that I always mispronounce, so we're not even going to try it. I do think this is a power play unit, the first power play unit that you want to look at tonight for those points. So we're going to get off the long shot parlay. I'm going to give you the players on Utah that I do think will be able to convert on the power play. You're taking Clayton Keller from an anytime point at minus 330 down to a plus 115 power play point. The Sharks defense and goaltending have been absolutely struggling, especially between the pipes. I do think Clayton Keller, given the opportunity, they can draw these penalties, will get a power play point tonight. It's coming in at plus 135. Nick Schmaltz with him. They're on the top line, top power play together. I think Nick Schmaltz will be able to get a point tonight. We can take him for the point at minus 166. So when we take Nick Schmaltz for the point, and then they won't let us parlay Clayton Keller with the power play point there. Let's just see if they'll let us parlay their power play points. No, can't parlay power play points. You can put it in our long shot parlay though. So be interesting. Maybe not. They won't let us parlay that at all. But Clayton Keller coming in at the power play point at plus 135. I would look there. And then for Utah, or for the Sharks, you got to look at Macklin Celebrini. That's who I wanted to look at next, is the San Jose Sharks. We talked about Utah. Let's look at the San Jose Sharks. Macklin Celebrini on the top line with Jeff Skinner. That is my player point parlay. I already put it in. I can't remember what price you got there. Macklin Celebrini and Jeff Skinner. And this is a great price for them for the point. Macklin Celebrini coming in at minus 156. He's got those assists, you guys, just not the goal. And Jeff Skinner is plus 162. They're on the top line. You parlay Jeff Skinner and Celebrini for a point tonight. It's coming in at plus 216. If you just want to take one of them, take Jeff Skinner. It's plus 162. And I think he has every ability to get things done. Now, William Eklund is on the second line, left wing of the second line. Tyler Toffoli's on the right wing. I do think between the two of them, Tyler Toffoli absolutely can get those goals. I do think Alex Wenberg in the middle can set up Toffoli or Eklund, and we're going to see a point out of Toffoli and Eklund. Remember, you got Will Smith down on that third line. Solid player out there as well. So when we look at where we're going to go with those players in this one, I would look here at William Eklund at minus 120 and Tyler Toffoli at minus 113. I think there's a lot of points to be made. So Dylan Guenther for 2+ points. I don't hate it. I don't hate Dylan Guenther for 2+ points. I think it could be a good way to go. The points are coming in this one. Also, love them to score first period when they come out hot in the first period. Wild not scoring 5-on-5. Yeah, they are living by that power play for sure. Actually, bet Teravainen for the assist, Nazar for the anytime. Yeah, it's gonna be a solid game. So you guys, I did build a long shot parlay for you. We're gonna move a couple of things around. So with your first game with the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Detroit Red Wings, if we just look at a player combo, there Marco Casper of the Red Wings and Alex DeBrincat, both for a point parlayed together is plus 203. I love it. Okay. So that is the same game parlay. The Lightning versus the Red Wings, both from the Red Wings, Marco Casper and DeBrincat for a point plus 203. When we look at the Vancouver Canucks versus the Chicago Blackhawks, Teravainen for a point, Frank Nazar for a point, and Quinn Hughes from a point. The two first guys from Chicago, and then Quinn Hughes, the defenseman from Vancouver. That's coming in at plus 262. The San Jose Sharks versus the Utah Mammoth. We're going big on this one. We got Macklin Celebrini for a point, Jeff Skinner for a point, William Eklund for a point, Tyler Toffoli for a point coming in at plus 614. And then for the Washington Capitals, I'm looking at Ovi for the point. He's minus 188, so he's part of our point parlay. The Minnesota Wild, you could look at Kaprizov. He's too highly juiced. So we have a 10-leg player prop, long shot player prop parlay. Right now, the $10 returns $1,194.05 if all of these players get a point. So those were all the players I just listed. I'll say them one more time, and then let's whittle it down. So Casper and DeBrincat from the Red Wings for a point, Teravainen, Frank Nazar from the Chicago Blackhawks for a point, Quinn Hughes for a point for Vancouver, Macklin Celebrini, Jeff Skinner, William Eklund, and Tyler Toffoli for a point for the Sharks. We didn't put in Clayton Keller. They're just so highly juiced on the Utah side that I didn't put any of them in. And then Alex Ovechkin from the Washington Capitals. Again, $10 pays you $1,194. You just put in $1, it's $120 basically returning. So let's move a couple. Let's take out Tyler Toffoli. Let's take out Alex Ovechkin. Let's take out Eklund. Let's take out Quinn Hughes. And let's take out DeBrincat. I've taken it down to a 5-legger. It's still plus 1757. So a $10 bet in here is coming back, paying you $175.75. And this is where I feel the most confident in this. So 5-leg long shot parlay. Teravainen from the Chicago Blackhawks for a point, and Frank Nazar from the Chicago Blackhawks for a point. Macklin Celebrini and Jeff Skinner from the San Jose Sharks, and Marco Casper from the Detroit Red Wings. Each of them for a point tonight, coming in at plus 1757. Again, $10 brings you back $175.75. Those players for the 2+ points, I would look at just Teravainen and Nikita Kucherov for the 2+ points. I think they are your best bet to go with them for 2+ points. On the other side for Utah, though, Clayton Keller definitely has the ability on the power play. I'd look at him for a Clayton Keller power play point at plus 135. And I'd look at Teravainen for the goal as well. I think you're going to get great plus money on that. But you guys, I appreciate each and every single one of you for joining me here on Puck It with Joe on the daily. Again, we finished the recap at the 30-minute mark, and we have gone almost a full hour. So I'm not sure how it always happens, but let's make some freaking money out here on a Friday. Again, I appreciate each and every single one of you for being here with me on the daily. If you can hit that like, hit that retweet if you're watching over on X, and then come on over to YouTube and just drop me even a thumbs up here on YouTube in the comments below. Hit that like button and hit the subscribe so you know when all of my reels, everything is dropping here. We cashed freaking big yesterday with the MLB Cup of Joe. If you didn't see it, I took Tyler Glasnow for his fired up K props. Those came in cash. We took, well, I was scared to take Toronto straight up on the money line, but we took the over in that game. We came out making freaking money on our MLB Cup of Joe. So stay tuned for my Cup of Joe. And then do check me out on Wager Talk and Picks and Parlays for all of the shows over there. If you didn't know, on Picks and Parlays, I am running the All Jo Madden show. That is Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays. And then on Wager Talk, I am part of Last Call, the primetime previews on Monday and Thursday night, so you can catch me there. Catch me on the End Zone every once in a while on a Sunday. And then on Betting Pros for some of my best bets, dropping on Betting Pros as well for the NFL. So you will find over there my Thursday, my Monday, and a Sunday best bet out there on the board. So you guys, all the best in all of your bets. I appreciate each and every single one of you. You guys are the best for being here on the daily. We will see you tomorrow. Hit the notification button so you know when I go live, because that's going to be a surprise to everyone. Bye, you guys.